Over the past 70 years in Formula One, we have seen the evolution of the cars from the old days of the original inline-4 engines all the way through to a variation of V6, V8, V10 and even V12 engines. Oh, did they sound amazing. But with the regulations and climate laws coming into place, this leaves the question, what does the future of Formula One look like? Formula One, as we know it, is a sport where we, as the fans, love to see competitive battle between the best drivers who top speeds of over 230 miles an hour, or 370 kilometers per hour for the Europeans watching. But with all that speed, there needs to be a source for all this power, and it's fuel. Fuel is needed to make the cars go, and without being too technical, throughout the different types of engines that have been used since the beginning of Formula One, we've had fuel drinkers, or gas guzzlers, thanks America, which up until now has never been a problem. With the change in the public eye towards a greener society, reducing the carbon footprint and reducing the effects of climate change, this has seen F1 get their fair share of backlash over the years. This is why Formula One has now taken action upon this by making statements upon the sustainability of the sport. I'll dive into those in just a minute. Throughout the world, countries and their governments are now setting targets to remove combustion road vehicles from society, and therefore reduce the harmful pollution that comes from them. With this, it will mean that most vehicles will then have to be powered by electricity or hydrogen. So what could this mean for Formula One? Jumping back to those statements, F1 aims to become net zero carbon footprint in the sport by 2030. Through this, it will involve innovation and creative thinking to somehow keep the sport alive in its current form. Case Carey, chairman and CEO of Formula One, said, "In launching F1's first ever sustainability strategy, we recognise the critical role that all organisations must play in tackling this global issue. Within the government policies regarding new plans to ban traditional ICE vehicles, it does leave a grey area for Formula One, as with traditional fuels, they are created through the drilling of crude oil and refined into race fuel. However, it may not be noted that biofuels can be an alternative as it is sustainable through the biomass technologies as it involves use of organic materials compared to the traditional system of crude oil. This is just one step that F1 is taking to help them achieve this net zero emissions target. We can't just say for definite that Formula One is always going to be around as we know it. Even some of the largest manufacturers of hypercars are all now switching to hybrid and electric vehicles in preparation of these fuel bans coming in the next 10 years. One thing I would like to note is that Formula E, one of Formula One's biggest rivals yet, can be seen as its sister series, have already created an established platform in the motor racing community. Whether you're either a fan of it or not, you have to admit that if there was an engine noise, it would be much better, but that defeats the whole sole purpose of it. Formula E was created to introduce electric vehicle technology into the motorsport world, pushing the boundaries of batteries partnered with aerodynamics to ensure when properly managed, a single car will be able to finish the race, rather than having to make a pit stop to change the over vehicles when the battery gets too low. Although the drivers swapping cars mid-race was cool to watch, it was dangerous, and the 45 minutes plus on lap format that is currently used not only provides just enough time for drivers to race from the back of the field to the front, it will mean that any mistakes will be punished and the best of the rest usually ends up winning that race. This format is obviously a lot shorter than a traditional F1 format, which usually lasts twice as long as the current Formula E races. The race weekend format is also different, with Formula E currently operating on a one-day event in most cities, with Formula One having racing action on a Friday, Saturday and Sunday. F1 races are more often than not on a closed circuit purposely built for motor racing, and you usually find them in the middle of nowhere. Just look at Silverstone or the Red Bull Ring, for example. There are a few circuits that are closer to the city, such as the Hungaroring, but the street circuits like Monaco and Singapore close down the city centre for maybe the weekend or maybe longer in order for the drivers to push the cars to the limit, narrowly missing the walls on either side of the tarmac. With Formula E usually running on a one-day basis, it does allow for them to be more environmentally friendly, and also get a little more respect for the locals who have to deal with their city being closed for a period of time. Let's spare a thought for those people in Monaco who have to deal with at least 2 closures a year. Although if anyone in Monaco has a spare yacht going for free, then contact us on any of our social media listed in the description below, please. With every possibility, there is a chance one day Formula 1 and Formula E could see a partnership between them, as it seems that the world is aiming for this sustainable electric zero-emissions approach. But for fans, it would mean an end of an era for the sport with its screaming engines as they fly down the straights. One of the biggest voices in motorsport right now is Lewis Hamilton, the 6-time Formula 1 world champion. He has previously said that F1 isn't pulling its own weight when it comes to improving its environmental impact. He argues that large corporations such as F1 should have the finances and the capacity to introduce their 10-year target of having a net carbon neutral status, but this isn't currently their number one priority. Now, I do understand that many will not favour this opinion that Formula 1 could merge with Formula E, as they've always been separate entities, but think about it, if it does happen, there will be less for the vehicles to go wrong. So when you see George Russell or Lando Norris on an amazing race and their engine blows, it would be a great shame. But with an electric-built race car, there is a lot less to go wrong mechanically anyways, meaning closer and more exciting racing. Hopefully they can find a way to get rid of that awful motor noise on the FE cars. Can Formula 1 reach their target by going carbon neutral by 2030? Maybe. I say that as things may be altered with the ongoing pandemic, but maybe this has given Formula 1 an opportunity to rethink its targets and see what they can do going forward to keep the sport alive, as well as keeping the peace between them and the public who are concerned about the environment. As far as Formula E is concerned, it is an alternative to Formula 1, and it's a bit like Marmite. You either love it or you hate it. I don't think Formula 1 name will disappear as it's too historic. It is like Ferrari completely rebranding to something different for when they make electric cars and stop producing cars powered by fuel. Although, the way things are going in Formula 1, it might not be a bad shout for the Italian brand at the moment. And that just about wraps up today's video on how I see Formula 1 being challenged in the future, and also how Formula E could play a large role in the development and sustainability of future environmental technology that will help keep the Formula 1 racing scene as we know it. If you did enjoy today's video, make sure you give us a thumbs up so that we know you're enjoying the videos. And why not subscribe to keep updated in the world of motorsport? We aim to upload every week covering many different motorsports. Speaking of which, why not head over to the apexmotorsport.com where there is a more in-depth look into motorsport and also breaking news that comes out. Also, check out our social medias, as that is where we post most frequently and are most likely to interact with you. Once again, thank you all for watching, and if you'd like to see another video, why not click on one that's on screen now.